One of the things we have talked about many times on this show with Scott Hardy from Top Class Actions is the issue of slack fill, kind of deceptive packaging where when you look at a product, you think it's actually filled, that what you see is what you get. But as we've found out too many times, that is typically not actually the case. So Scott, you're with me right now. We've got an issue, kind of a slack fill issue, I guess you'd call it, with these Gold Peak tea bottles. Now a class action lawsuit has been filed. Tell us what's happening with the Gold Peak Tea class action.
Sure. So the Gold Peak Tea class action alleges that you've got your bottle, and that's all nice, but in the bottom of that bottle, it's inverted. And so you're not actually getting all of the tea you might think you are based on the size of the bottle. According to the class action, it's somewhere around about 6.5% that you're not actually getting because of that little sneaky, according to the class action, inversion in the bottle. And we see those, as you said, in a lot of different slack fill class actions where companies go ahead and give you a huge box, but they only fill half of it, or other issues like that. So you think you're getting more. And on this one, this is the first one that I've seen as called a slack fill class action for a beverage where you have this good sized bottle, but then you have that indentation, which takes out some of the volume. So you're just not getting what you think you are.
Well, and one of the things that immediately jumped into my mind when I read this story was Gatorade. Gatorade bottles, which also, I believe, made by the Coca-Cola company, same group that makes the Gold Peak tea. They're also very concave on the bottom. So it goes all the way down on the sides, but at the bottom you've got this big old, bubble almost. So it seems like Coca-Cola kind of makes a habit of this. A lot of their non-Coke or Sprite bottles tend to follow this same kind of design where you got the big bubble in the middle, but you can't see it because the side goes all the way down. It almost does feel like it's intentional at this point, doesn't it?
Right. I thought that was actually functional when I get those Gatorade bottles. It didn't even occur to me as a consumer that they could be using this just kind of misrepresent how much you're getting. But David, who actually represented himself in filing this lawsuit, he's filed more than 100 different class actions against different manufacturers, almost all of them being slack fill. So David is responsible for a lot of different companies changing how they're actually packaging their products. Because he catches it, he files the class action, the businesses go, oops, and they actually change how they are packaging their products thanks to David. So it's interesting to see how this class action will go through, because obviously he knows what he's doing since he's filed so many and made a lot of positive changes for those consumers who are buying these products.
And that's the most important thing too. That's the goal. It's not just, let's get a lot of money for people. No, it's let's make them start doing the right thing so that we don't have to do this. I mean, ultimately, when you think about it, the goal of lawyers is to essentially put themselves out of business because they're the ones who are out there fighting to make companies do the right thing. And when companies finally start doing the right things, okay, well then there's no more need for lawyers. Their goal is to drive themselves to extinction, but because corporations can't play by the rules, that extinction doesn't look like it's ever really going to happen, does it?
No, that's the thing, is that we keep saying, wow, they're never going to do this again. And they say, well, we won't do that, but now we figured out this new way to intentionally mislead people and make you think you're getting more than you actually are. So yeah, I mean, you're going to constantly have these companies that are really working for their shareholders rather than their end buyers, their end consumers who are buying their products, to increase those profits. And that's why you're still going to have class actions get filed, because these folks have figured out a new way to shave off a nickel for every dollar that they sell, and that could hurt people in the end.
Not to mention the fact, I think this is worth pointing out too, it takes more plastic to make that little bubble than to make a flat line. So if you think about it, they would probably save a little bit of money, maybe a couple of cents per bottle, if they just made it flat. I mean, to me, that sounds like a win-win for everybody involved, but Maybe that's something corporations haven't thought of yet. In case they do watch this and say, wait a minute, this guy's right, I will take a 10% cut of all of the profits that you have saved. But seriously though, for more information about this particular issue, follow the link in the description of this video and head on over to Top Class Actions and make sure that you sign up for their weekly newsletter. It is absolutely one of the best resources out there for consumers. Scott Hardy with Top Class Actions, always a pleasure talking to you.
Great talking to you too, Farron. Thank you for your time.
Every year, 1 million hernia surgeries are performed in the United States. Unfortunately, some mesh implants that are used in these surgeries have caused complications, including infection and organ damage that led to surgeries to correct those problems. If this has happened to you, learn more about the hernia mesh lawsuit by going online to hernia.law or call us for a free consultation about your legal rights.